Hi, everybody. We're just gonna wait for Tara to join us, and I think I figured out what to do while I'm waiting for people to join. So I think I'm gonna just start talking about how I met the artist that I met that I'm interviewing. I hope I can make this consistent. So I met Tara in my first semester at UH, I believe, because I think we both transferred there at the same time. And I think she was one of my first friends when I moved to Hawaii, and I love her work so much, and I think she's just such an incredible artist, and I can't wait for everyone to see her amazing world and what she's done, and it's just gonna be great. I feel like she was there for me for a lot of stuff, especially having it be my first year away from home. I think Tara is just such an incredible artist, and oh wow, so many people are joining, and I just can't wait for everybody to meet her because she's just so sweet. Yeah, hold on, I'm trying to think. We always did random dancing, and whenever I would go to her studio, oh wait, there she is. Okay, give me 1 minute, Tara. Hold on, I'll put you in. Give me 1 second. Where did she go? But yeah, I would always go to her studio when I had breaks, and I would always bring her, I think, orange juice or some food. There she is. Hi, Tara.
Hi. Oh my god, hi.
Yeah, it's working. Hello.
Hi.
So nice to see you. Okay, there's a lot of people joining. That was really fast. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, we can wait a few minutes. But there's a lot of people joining, so we can start whenever you feel ready. You feel ready?
I feel ready. Oh, Alicia's here now. Now I definitely feel ready.
All right. Okay. So we'll start. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining this artist talk. My guest for today is a very lovely friend of mine. Her name is Terra Keck, and she is an interdisciplinary artist and works in both performance and space making, but mainly works on paper. And she takes performance aspect and turns it into, and has turned it into a comedy show called Which Yes. And you could also watch that in the information that I'll put after this video is posted. So, yay! Thank you for joining, Tara.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's get started right away. There's so many people on. No pressure. So where are you? Where are you from?
Where am I from? I'm coming to you right now from Red Hook in Brooklyn, New York. That
Yeah.
is where I am. My body's at right now.
Nice. And where were you born and raised? Yes.
Where was I born? I was born in Folsom, California, which is where the prison is. Fun fact. And I moved around a lot. So I did some high school in Indiana. I did some more high school in North Carolina. Ended up doing undergrad in Indiana and then moved to Oregon, Hawaii, which is where we met. And now I'm in here. I'm trapped here in this video.
Stop.
The more
And
people join, if more people join, then Brenda will let me go.
yeah. No, stop. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so what my next question is, what inspired you to create art?
Um, Funny. Uh, I am not good at many other things. I'm actually have a pretty sufficient deficit in most other skill sets. So I really, this is all I have. And if I can't do this, I don't know what else I would do. I don't know. Little, when I was a kid, I watched a lot of anime. Tsunami was around in the 90s, so that's how I spent most of my time, was just
Mhm.
projecting myself into like these like hyper pink, super flat like environments um, that seem so much more magical than whatever the hell I was doing, you know? So that's a huge part of it, I think.
Yeah. And so when you decided to pursue art as a career, did you receive support from your family and your friends?
I did. I don't know. Let's see. How many of my friends are in the comments right now? Look very supportive, does it? Fam, friends. No,
Yeah.
I had a lot of support. I was really lucky. I'm the middle child of five, so my parents definitely um, felt like they had other children that they could have do other more successful things. So they were like, "Yeah, sure, Tara, go ahead and live your dream."
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And so, with that, if you would be able to, can you talk to me about what schools you attended? Like undergrad and for your undergrad and for your master's?
Yeah. So I went to Cassie Dunbar's here. I went to Ball State University, which is I don't know if you guys have ever seen Parks and Recreation, but they make fun of Muncie, Indiana, as like a joke place to go to, and that's the school that I went to. Um, and then after that, I decided I don't want to be a joke anymore. So then I ran away to go to UH, University of Hawaii.
Yeah. Nice. And so what sorry, what were your majors? What was your major when you went into undergrad and then when you went to um for your master's at UH?
Yeah, so I came into undergraduate as a drawing major, and I was really lucky because a lot of universities don't have drawing major; they consider drawing a part of painting, and I definitely didn't want to paint, and so I got in there to do drawing, and then fell in love with printmaking, and so when I went into graduate school, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a printmaker. I'm going to make all these prints, and then proceeded to make absolutely no prints and did performance art instead. So
Nice. Yeah, no, this is good because I mean, I know about your journey and everything. And I was there for some of it. So if you're comfortable, would you talk to me a little bit more about your experience in undergrad first? Because I feel like I still learn a lot about your experience in undergrad, and I met you as a master's student. So if you talk a little bit about undergrad and then and your experience there, and then kind of transition onto what your experience was as a master's student, that would be awesome.
yeah.
Loaded.
So a lot of undergraduate work. I think UH is kind of like this, but is different from maybe other undergraduates that go to UH. Most undergraduates, in my experience, are very technical based. So you're really focusing on learning material, like learning craft. And so that was very much what I was expecting when I went into graduate school because I didn't have like this huge background in printing. I really wanted to go to grad school to learn how to print efficiently, learn a bunch of different techniques. And I don't know for anyone else that's gone to grad school, it's not always like that. So a lot of graduate school was very heady in concept, like very much interested in like contemporary art and like placing yourself within like a greater art culture. And so that was very jarring to me until I sort of found my footing in that space. But yeah, I mean, Ball State University, Muncie, Indiana is like has a very special place in my heart. Half the year it smells like dead fish. The other half of the year it's freezing cold.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I have some notes from when we prepped before, and if if you kind of elaborate a little bit more, that would be lovely. With undergrad, you said that you mentioned something about the experience was like you wanted to was it sorry you were told how to improve to get the good grade, right?
Uh, yeah. So I think this is like in a lot of like parts of like higher education is that you like going into undergrad, like you're given a lot of direction. And so you were told, like, you know, I just have to listen to what this old man is telling me, and then I will get the good grade, and then I will be a very good girl. And then once you get into graduate school, they're still old men, and they're still telling you what to do, but they're telling you all different things. And so that's sort of the difficult part, because none of them are right. And you just have to somehow sort of sand through your fingers, sieve, and find some kind of nugget in everyone's sort of weird, jaded opinion about your work.
Yeah, no, and then you also kind of talk about how you place yourself in like space and time in the art world. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to share more about that.
I mean, placing yourself in space and time in the art world when you're like 26 is like sort of a strange thing. It's like sort of a strange request from people. You know, it's like you're trying to sort of build what I always kind of felt like was like a weird family tree of like,
Mm.
this is my printmaking grandmother and this is my printmaking father and these are the people that I'm attaching to myself, and this is like where I feel like, you know, who my art is related to and what movements it's related to, um, which is I like very helpful for some people. Um, if I were to like place my work anywhere, when I was 26, I'd say things like, you know, Kiki Smith and like maybe, oh God, I want to say Judy Chicago, but that's not really right, is it? Or like Wangechi Mutsu or something like that. And now I would say um, I'm more in a realm of like thinking about myself maybe on the other side of like a vaporwave movement, um, and moving maybe more into like a sort of, how did Jan Dickey once describe it? Swamp mythos.
Oh, okay.
Uh, girl, young girl emerging from swamp mythos.
Hmm. Okay. Nice. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I feel like it's just like you shared a lot of really good points, and I really want them to like the audience to hear about it. And can you share with me some of the opportunities you had while you were in school, such as like traveling or meeting artists and stuff like that?
Yeah. I had a really fantastic opportunity. Cassie Dunmeyer, who's also still watching here, we were able to study abroad in Italy, which was like a really amazing opportunity and put me in so much debt, but I did it anyway. Um, and you know, I don't know if other departments do this. I imagine some departments do this, but was really great about bringing in artists from all around the world. Like UH had like sort of is in a particular place on the planet that it is able to bring in like um, Australian, New Zealand, Japanese artists, as well as like Western artists to come and talk. Did I take advantage of those when I was 18 and in an undergrad? Absolutely, I did not. Did I take advantage of those when I was 26 in grad school? Maybe not as much as I should have. But you know, I was definitely given opportunities. You know, we've talked about Andrea Dezo so many times, a fantastic artist, and Sally French, who I ended up getting to do a residency on Kauai with after graduate school. Um, you know, so much of of the art world is awkwardly holding a glass of wine in your hand and really hoping you can just make this conversation last a few more minutes longer. It's like at them on Instagram, you know, in
Yeah.
like the most charming of ways.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. And then also talk about what I think you said you went with Nisha, Chiho, and Sumei in a group exhibition. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah. So we were able to do this printmaking exhibition that traveled sort of around the Pacific, going into Australia, New Zealand, um, into California, several others in Japan, several other countries whose names I'm forgetting right now in the panic of being put on the spot. But and that was set up through UH. So that was like a really fantastic opportunity. So when I tell people I'm an international artist, it's not technically a lie. Technically.
It's not. And I think you've done amazing work. And then I think you also talked about Deborah, I'm butchering her name, I'm sorry.
Oh, Deborah Drexler. Oh, sweet Deborah Drexler.
Mm-hmm.
Angel. Yeah, so when I moved to New York City, I lied and said that I moved to New York City, and I actually moved to my parents' house in Texas for 2 weeks until I got a job. And then I actually moved here, and Deborah does her summers here. I don't know, she's a UH painting professor with a big personality and a very satisfying laugh. And she has this like insane ability to go up to any human being and say, "Have you met Terra?" And she would walk me around, gallery exhibitions. It is exhausting. At some points, I was like, I just really can't do this anymore. And she'd make me go anyway. And that was really great. And it ended up getting me my first gallery job, which I promptly lost because I kept getting drunk at openings. And then, like all of New York City is really just like making connections in sometimes a gross way, but sometimes just like a really like honest and kind way, because this is our community, and so you're a part of it. You kind of have to act like it.
Yeah. No, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, so I think that's all we covered. I think that's pretty good. Unless you want to talk a little bit about the Southern
What's
Grad.
the print conference? I mean, I don't have too much to say. It was a project that LithoPixel did that they invited grad students to come to. So it was like Nisha Panjani and Hannah Day. And I can't remember if Chiho went. Sume went. And we got to go to Portland, Oregon and be a part of like this like really interesting performance art piece where they worked with a telescope on Mauna Kea. It was sort of a contentious relationship between UH and Mauna Kea, but where they were trying to get the largest print of like the entire night sky from Mauna Kea. And so they're really gorgeous lithographs, and I was really happy to be a part of it in the very small way that I was.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing all this, Tara. And then I'm gonna move on to the next question. That way we can look at your amazing art because I'm very excited to see that. Is what do you feel that school prepared you for?
I forgot about this question. Oh God, what did school prepare me for? I mean, there are many things that school did not prepare me for. School prepared me, graduate school prepared me for how to talk about art in some ways. I definitely like learned all of those fun vocab words. But I think that like grad school really taught me just like how to talk to my peers in like a meaningful way. And actually, I think taught me that the most important, like the most valuable feedback is from your peers, because I never really felt like faculty were able to empathize with my work in the way that I really wanted them to. But I definitely like deeply respected the feedback that people in my cohort, people above me, people below me, like what they had to say, because they had like I felt like a more honest relationship to me and my work. And that those are the voices that I still listen to this day. Like those are the people that I ask for studio visits with.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so, what did school not prepare you for?
Like, my God, everything. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like how to, I think I talked about this before. So Kelly, whose name I can never pronounce, she said something to me that was probably like the best advice I got after grad school, because when you're in school, like everything feels like it's life or death, and like you just have immersed yourself in like the world's greatest gift, which is like a selfish 3 years where you just get to talk about you, and it's so important, you know.
Yeah.
And after that, you get out of school and nobody cares. And so I think the best advice that I had gotten was that the first few months, just feel like life is meaningless. And then after that, you begin to recognize that the rest of your life is you just getting to live the rest of your life, which is what everyone who has ever lived has gotten to do. And so now it's your turn. And that was like the most freeing, like 2 sentences that have ever been gifted to me.
Yeah, no, I also think that that was something that we talked about, that we both kind of experienced separately. I mean, obviously I didn't go to grad school, but it was like the feeling of undergrad. And I like how you called it the in between, because that's exactly what it feels like. It's an in between, and you don't really know what to do. Nobody ever tells you when you're about to graduate. Um, Nobody says like, oh, get ready for that, like those few 6 months where you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because I do remember something that I remember was happening to you when you were graduating, is everyone was like, what are you going to do after you graduate? What's going to
Oh my
happen?
God.
What are you going to do?
Throw
And yeah,
me into the
yeah, I remember when you were saying like, please, I hate that question. Because I think I either asked you or I was about to ask you. And then I think you said that somebody had asked you that. I was like, oh, note to self, don't ask that question. Got it. But yeah, no, I think talking about that in between is really, really important, especially for artists like going into school and about to leave school, that there's that gap. And I think you just worded it so perfectly. So thank you, Tara.
and you know, I think also it's like your first year and a half in any new place is just the worst year of your life. Every time you go to a new place, at least that's been my experience. And then, you know, every year after that, it gets warmer and warmer.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all your words of wisdom. I really appreciate it. I hope you know that.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And so now we get to talk about any art you feel comfortable sharing with everyone. We are doing really good on time, so you can share as
Oh,
much as
really?
you
I can
like.
share
Yeah.
just the whole shebang. Well, you guys, you're in for such a treat because I cleaned my whole studio for you. So this is this sort of what I'm calling maybe a power corner, um, because it has the most stuff in it, that I'm most proud of. I'm going to put you back on this little piece of clay that I have you on. So, so my practice before coming to New York was definitely like I cast my net really wide. So I come from a background that's all works on paper, and so when you with works on paper, especially drawing, I feel like there is far too much control, and in that far too much responsibility. And so when I went to graduate school, and you get sort of like that first like um, salty, acidic wave of criticism, that everyone gets, and instead of quitting or truly believing in myself, I decided that I was just going to do something totally different, because then no one could be mad at me if it was bad. So what I ended up doing is I ended up doing a lot of performance artwork, which, you know, started off really strange. I had done a piece called Flesh Baby, which is where I laid out on a piece of fleece, a skin, sort of tan fleece, and measured myself. And then I sewed it all together, stuffed her, gave her like little nipples and a little vagina, and I put her in clothes every day, and I carried her around with me for 3 months straight. And then was very confused why my committee was also confused. So so that was sort of my beginning into performance artwork. And then as I was moving from that, I was thinking about making spaces. And I was very interested, and I'm still very interested in making spaces, interior spaces, and making interior spaces feel inner, like inside our bodies, but not in the kind of way that's like you're walking into someone's tummy. And so the way that I got to that point was that I started doing wallpaper. And so I can come and show you this wallpaper. You can come with me right now. Hey guys, let's go. So these are just some strips that I have of wallpaper that was in several of my exhibitions in Hawaii. I have a general affinity for the color pink because I sort of had a discussion with an undergraduate once that was like, pink is like this feminine color, but it's also like this like weird fleshy color of violence, which sounds like kind of overly poetic, I think. But I was thinking about like the color of smacked bottoms and the color of smacked cheeks and the color of your gums when you're biting into something and like the color when you bite your lip and it bleeds. That those are all of like these pink sort of like pink, like reactive colors. So I was making a lot of wallpaper. I had also done an exhibition in Lafayette, Indiana, of all places, which if you guys don't know is where Purdue is at. And I had done an exhibition where I just filled an entire basement with this wallpaper and then lit it pink. So whenever you walked into it, you turned pink as well. And I did that piece and I called it Eve. And I put one of those like flesh masks and tried to eat apples through it for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And all I got was a drink ticket. Funny.
That's so cool. I didn't know you did that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Let's see what else. And so the wallpaper never really felt like it was enough. So I did a lot of durational performance art where my physical body was in the space. And I had this piece or this character called Good Girl, all capitals, one word. And so in that exhibition, I built in this sort of fishbowl-esque gallery called the Commons Gallery. I built the facade of a suburban house. And then on one side was like this really beautiful, like crunchy green, like bright green AstroTurf. And then on the other side was this acidic, sort of revolting, creepy, crumbling pink bedroom that I lived in for 3 weeks. And all I ate, the only food I was allowed to eat was the color pink. The only thing I was allowed to drink was like pink lemonade and coffee that I had put red food coloring in. And I did that, was that 2018, 2017? And the idea was that like over time you're watching like this young girl, she, you know, very sexualized, infantilized girl, live like a hamster. And so like more material would show up. You would see what Alicia Herder called my magnum opus, which was fake wax pink poop that I would hide in the corners of the exhibition. And and I would make fake vomit and like just like created this space, this like horrifying pink space. And sorry, I was trying to get on my computer so I could show you. It's really cool. You guys can just imagine it. But after that, I became so physically ill, like so physically ill, because all I was eating was pink icing and gummies and like just nonsense food. I'm putting it back. But so then after that, I said, Tara, you're never doing this again. You are just going to have to make works on paper. So then I returned to all of these drawings that I've sort of been working on. Oh, Giovanna's solo is here.
Giovanna's joining.
This is great. So works on paper, works on paper. So recently, I've been transitioning into this new phase of my artwork, which began in 2018, which is a very sort of earnest investigation into witchcraft and the divine feminine, but also like spiritualism, not spirituality, but like spiritualism that like comes up a lot during times of chaos. A lot of like the spiritualism, like Ouija boards and seances, like have these sort of reoccurring resurgences. The first one was after the American Civil War. A bunch of people die. People want to talk to their dead uncle that they love so much, and that's how they decide they're going to get in contact with him. World War I, a bunch of people unfortunately died, and then somebody wants to like, you know, oh, my son that went away to war and never came back, you're telling me that I can still have like this relationship with him and I can still like hear his voice. Happened during World War II, happened after Vietnam, and I don't know if you guys have been on Instagram lately, but there's definitely been a resurgence of spiritualism today, like within the past couple years, because like when the world doesn't make sense and like everything feels like a lie, and like how am I supposed to feel inside my human body and inside this time and inside this culture? How do I make sense of like what it means to be here? And so I'm very interested in like contemporary seance. I'm very interested in like woo-woo culture, internet and otherwise. I'm very interested in like the resurgence of covens, like contemporary covens, and how like they're taking from like these very old like old places and like old religions and like old mythos, and like giving them like this new life, because for so long like so many people were not only not allowed to like practice their own religion, but were like belittled for investigating like this sort of this like meaning of life. And like I'm just so interested in like in exploring like these new ways that we're like making sense of those topics. So how does that relate to my work? Well, I don't know really. So what I've been doing, well, there's my ceiling. So what I've been doing is like creating sort of like these like mythic mother figures. I've been putting little hats on them, so you know they're witches. I use a lot of like self-portraiture.
That one's my favorite.
Oh, thank you. And I've been working a lot with like, where are we? Like sticks and like the creation of like pyres, both funeral pyres and also pyres that we like burn, that we have burned witches and women in the past. And then like sort of creating or collecting like these little monsters or the like. What, like women masquerading as monsters, monsters masquerading as women. Let's see what else we got up here. Yeah, so just I'm very interested in the female form. And I think that where I've been has been like a very classical sort of description of the female form and like what it means to live in a female body. But what I'm really now focusing on is like really just hinting at the figure, thinking about the figure differently, as more than a sum of its parts, while still using like, you know, the makeup of its parts.
Oh,
This is a piece I've been working on.
I love it. The blue is so pretty.
Oh, thank you. So that's where I'm at lately. I have a show coming up in September in Brooklyn. It's a solo show. It's my first solo show in New York City. What? Are you kidding? How
Awesome.
crazy is that? So, oh, you're fine. So that'll be in September. It'll be the full month of September. So if we all get the vaccine, you can come to Brooklyn and come see my show. And I'm, you know, it's sort of investigating like the structure of seance, just so where you all stand in the circle and try to contact the dead, and the structure of seance to heal physically, emotionally, spiritually, heal through connection from our space to the other space, whatever that space is, that over there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Tara. Oh, you share. Do you want to share anything else? Sorry, before I'm like.
Oh yeah, I do really quickly. So this is so some of you, I see some of you, but not all of you, are listeners to my podcast. So I have a comedy spirituality podcast called Witch Yes. There's an exclamation point at the end, and the comma is important. So it's a comedy show where we explore like the history of different movements, different ways of like divination, the history of divination. We go into Gerald Gardner, who's like the founder of Wicca. We go into the devil, like all of his historical things. And then also go into like, we did one, I don't want to recommend it, but we did one on sex magic, like all the gross ways that like cultures throughout the years and throughout time have like used their bodies to try to make things happen. One of my favorite episodes is the ghost episode. So it's really wonderful. I do it with one of my very close friends, Alicia Herder, and also our producer, Marcel Perez, who just had a show go up on HBO. And yeah, we just entered season 3. And
Yay.
like probably the thing I've done the longest so far. So if you're not listening to that and you have a sense of humor, I would appreciate it if you'd go check it out on Apple Podcasts. Okay, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and then I'll put it up after I post the video as well, because I've heard some of your podcasts and I love it. And I also just love your voice in general. So when I hear you talk about stuff, I get excited.
This voice? You like this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, no, and I just want to make sure you shared all the art that you want to share before I ask you the follow more questions. So is that everything?
That's all I got. I think that I could talk forever, but I don't want to keep you guys here forever.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I have a few more questions, and of course, I'm gonna leave it open for whoever's watching if they want to ask you questions as well. So I want to make sure we have enough time for that. So if we do, and I'll let you know once I finish asking the questions, I would love for you to share some more of your pieces because I can look at your work forever. So I'll just go on to the next question is, how do you feel being a female artist? And it's a question that I ask you if you're comfortable answering it. And it's me asking if you've ever not felt supported or if you've ever been harassed for being a female artist. And I feel like it's just a very important question to just kind of start talking about.
Yeah. It's we had problems with this question before, the first time I asked it, because you know, being a female artist, what does that mean? What does that mean for me versus like I've only lived one life, so I only know what it's like to be my kind of female artist. I would say that in professional situations, and no one here that I know of has ever made me feel this way. But in professional situations where I've tried to work collaboratively with people, it's very hard to have like my ideas taken seriously. You know, I was reading something recently that was also that women talk a lot faster, not because like, you know, their brains work faster, because like they can process information faster. It's because they're like so used to being interrupted that you feel like you have to talk faster to get all of your information out, or else you're either going to bore that person by talking too much, or you're not going to like relay the information that you need to. And so I'm very guilty of that, working like with a podcast very hard to get past that. If you listen to early episodes, I'm just like joke, you know, it's like you are so used to like just having people for like just like this tiniest amount of time, you know. And I remember I had a artist talk that I watched through New York Crit Club, where we had a critiquer come in, a male critiquer, and he talked so slowly and so deliberately that I was just like, I could never do that. And there was something that was so powerful about it. He also talks like really quietly. And there was something so powerful about it because people just hung on to it in a way that like, I was like, I feel like I have to talk and also do a dance with tap shoes and also maybe a light display to get people to pay attention to what I have to say. You know, and I would also say that like, it's hard, not hard, hard isn't the right word. It's an easy criticism of female identifying artists that want to talk about female identity and the feminine. It's an easy critique that they're like pigeonholing themselves and that they're playing identity politics and that they really don't have anything new to offer. And I've definitely gotten that kind of critique several times. And, you know, is that really accurate? Is that really, you know, people are allowed to talk about and investigate what they find interesting, and saying that like feminist art or like female artists that are interested in the feminine is like a phase that every artist goes through is like really hurtful and not productive to the conversation. I think more people should be talking about it. I would love for there to be just more of everything. That would be my ideal.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And I actually saw you post on your story about how like women are like, we just talk fast all the time. And then I think after reading it, I thought about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I do that too. And I try to just catch myself and just kind of like take a deep breath and remember that it's not a race.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I really, really appreciate you for sharing and elaborating on this question and answering it. I really am thankful for that. And I have two more questions and then we'll leave it open for audience. How are you taking care of yourself physically and emotionally during this time?
Oh, I had trouble with this question before too. I remember it. How are you doing? What a horrible question. How are you doing? Makes me just like makes my skin crawl. Well, anybody who follows any of my social media knows that my boyfriend and we adopted a puppy. That's been great. Nothing like having like a tiny creature that's obsessed with you. You know, be so excited to see you every morning. She comes out of her bed and jumps on the couch and like wiggles her little butt, and I just say to her, it's a new day, we get to do it again. Like, can you believe this? I'm here, you're here. So that's like probably been the best. I think another thing is that so I'm going through my Saturn Return, which happens every 29 years. So the Saturn has just moved back into Aquarius. It sort of popped up at the very beginning of the peak of the pandemic, went back into Capricorn over the summer when it seemed like we were doing okay, and then it came back in December. So the Saturn Return is supposed to really be about like you confronting like your like the reality of your life and like taking responsibility for like where you are. And so that has really been like an investigation of like boundaries. And I think that boundaries is like the buzzword for like internet psychology and like holistic therapy. But like telling people no, you guys in the comments, like telling people no and offering no explanation. Like, oh my goodness, it's the most empowering feeling. And just telling people honestly what you want. I think that like we spend so much time online, like texting each other, where we can't like really discern tone, that like being super literal about what you want, where you are, like how you're like just being like, Michael Bobrinskoy, I need you to get me this from the store. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that is, I need you to talk to me about this thing right now. I need to tell you how I'm feeling. This is exactly how I'm feeling. Like, no, I don't want to go to do that thing. Like, that has been like without guilt, without explanation, has like released all of this tension of like, just going around in society that that's, it's been hard work. I'm still going through it for sure. But yeah, like, oof. My mom said, Tammy said that your 30s are the best because you're done with all of the yearning and crying and like performance of your 20s, and now you just get to be you. And I was just like, oh, Mom, but she was right. She was super right.
Yes, go Tammy. Tammy's your mom, right? That's right.
Yeah, Tams.
Yay, Tammy. Thank you, Tara. Did you want to add anything else before I ask you the last question?
Drinking more water. I'm doing a dry January with my dad. That's about it. Not going great.
Thank you. My last question for you is, do you have any advice you would like to give to artists?
No, that's not real advice. My advice, my advice is that like everybody tells you to like look at a lot of art, and all day long, like you're like scrolling through Pinterest or Instagram or TikTok, like looking at art, and I don't find that to be actually very productive. I actually find it to like what that good old fashioned like Alicia Herder compare and despair, where you're just like comparing yourself and like, I'm not making that work and I'm not making enough work, and look how everyone is making work and I'm not because I'm sad. That actually looking at work like indiscriminately and like just like constantly consuming art is not the most productive for me. I find like the most productive space is actually listening to artists talk about their work, like listening to artists talks, whether that be like Art 21, or it doesn't even have to be artists, like any kind of like creative person. Like I really love, we've talked about this before, I really love the podcast Switchblade Sisters, which is where directors and actors like come in, they talk about their new project, but they also talk about their favorite genre film. So like listening to a woman come in and like talk about their favorite horror film and what makes it special and interesting. Um, like down to the makeup, like down to like set design, like that is so much more inspiring. Yeah, listening to art, because that's like, you know, I feel like where the real energy exchange comes from. Like, you know, we go to gallery openings for the wine and the cheese and to be seen, but we also go to like meet artists and talk to them because like that energy is like intoxicating. So powerful. Fills me up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. And then I think you also talked about merit, like, what is it? I think, hold on, I might be saying it wrong. It's like being married to the vision of the idea instead of the material.
Oh yeah. I think that like sometimes, not everybody, it's just been my experience, but like I am a printmaker in a way that is different sometimes from people that say they're a painter.
Mm-hmm.
That like I think in print, and print is the material that gives me like makes me sweat and get excited. Um, but like I think that having like a marriage to a material can be also like really exhausting and frustrating and can stagnate, at least it has been for me, can stagnate practices because I'm too married to like how I do print, that like there are certain like avenues that I would like to investigate that like do not lend themselves well to that material. um, and it doesn't make those ideas bad, and I deserve to investigate them. So, like, you know, letting sort of your monogamous relationship to a material and letting it change, like the way that I feel like I brought print back to drawing, I feel like the way that, you know, print came in and out of like my performance practice, like those are all like very genuine and interesting like avenues of interest that I would not have been able to do if I had been in a space where it's like, Tara, you came to Hawaii to do prints, so that's all you're doing. You know, that is, yeah, like just not generative. I think that a lot of the people here that I know have like released themselves from that. Like they're still painters and they're still sculptors, but like their materials and the things that they do are not limited to just that. At least the successful ones.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Tara, for everything that you shared. And like, I'm really grateful that you said yes. And
Oh,
you,
thank you for inviting me. I was so excited about this, and thank you for switching up your schedule a little bit for me. Very, um, very thoughtful. And thank you.
of course, yes, no, anything to make you feel comfortable and welcome. And so we have, I think, like 6, 7 minutes for questions. And if there's like more questions, if you have time, we can have another video and ask a few more questions. But if anybody has any questions that they have for Tara, please type them down because we're short on time. And I think there's somebody that already asked, Between Velvet Sheets, asked, where is your solo show? Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's at Sweet Lorraine.
Mm-hmm.
So Sweet Lorraine is in Red Hook. It's attached to TI Art Studios.
Okay. That's also for me too because I didn't know. I was going to have. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, thank you for that. Are you excited about your show?
Um, what is the word for excited, but also nauseous and vomitous and
Mhm.
just like gassy? I feel gassy about it.
Yeah, no, I get you. Oh, that. Do you have a dream project?
Do I have a dream project? Absolutely not. No, I don't know. I don't know. But I have a dream dress that I would like to wear to my dream solo show opening in, you know, Manhattan.
There you
That's
go.
a project. My next, my next one, and then after that, I'll have another one. Oh, what do we have here?
Would
Would
you
you
do?
do performance again? Would I do it? Is that a dare? Yeah, and I wholeheartedly intend to do performance art again. I have a couple projects coming up that I'm really excited about. It's fun, but it's also really hard to document. And also, people in New York have this idea that you have to sell performance art, which performance art is not here to be sold. Performance art sells your other shit, basically. So, like, you invite performance artists to your gallery because they attract weirdos with money, and those people are going to buy those big paintings after they get drunk off of all the performance art. That's how it happens. Sorry, what Ray said. How do you know when your art is ready for a shift? When I'm sick of looking at it, when I'm not excited about what I'm making, and I'm making it maybe what I'm feeling is maybe the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Or when, like, yeah, I guess, like, when it doesn't feel like it's moving at all. It's not very good advice, I suppose.
No, but
Because you
that's
can back to stuff, I guess. That's usually, I put a lot of, I don't know if you can see, half of my work is unfinished because I start 10 things and I put them down to do the next thing. And the great part is that, you know, a lot of these guys up here, I came back to, like, over quarantine, when I was ready to come home, you know?
Yeah, thank you, Tara. I actually have a question for you. How do the images come to your mind? Because those are
In
really
dreams, no. How do images come to my mind? Well, I don't take my own advice, and I do look at a lot of other people's stuff. So I keep extensive private Pinterest catalogs of ideas or feelings or colors that are inspirational to me. But I take a lot of photos of myself, and I do a lot of drawing. I have a lot of sketchbooks. So, and you know what? I got Audible recently, that the book audiobook app. That's investment. Because, like, listening to short stories, like old creepy short stories from the beginning of the, like, 20th century, like, so inspiring. Like, listening to someone read The Yellow Wallpaper, which I've read so many times, but, like, listening to someone read it, or like an Agatha Christie book, if we ignore all the anti-Semitism in it, those works are just so, I don't know, have like a weird gritty tactileness to it that, like, you know, pulls forth these images from inside my stomach.
yeah, nice. There's one more question. How has quarantine affected your artistic mindset? Ooh, that's a good question.
I'm not making anything for anyone because no one is buying or showing anything, which has been great. I also, I'd also really like to rep New York Crit Club, which went entirely online. It's like an artist-run critique group, and they've really exploded online through Zoom. And so, like, I think I probably have had more people look at my work because of that than anything else, which I probably wouldn't have necessarily done if it hadn't been online, because taking my work or, like, going somewhere, it's like an extra step, you know? Being able to bring artists to your studio to talk about work, that's really, where it's at. I'd also say I got a studio right at the beginning of quarantine, which I was really lucky to have. Casey Lynn is an absolute angel, phenomenal ceramics artist who shares the studio space with me. And she showed up with a Christmas present in December 2019, and it is a key to her studio, and said, "Come work with me." And so now we're splitting it halfway, but for a year, like, having a place to go, I'm so lucky. Like, that's so, like, just the kindness of others. I've been able to work bigger. I've been able to work in larger quantities with more toxic materials, because they're not going to get in anybody's cat's hair, That's, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
We have time for. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
We have time for two more questions. Maybe because I want to ask one more, and then I think we have time for one more before Instagram cuts us off. Is how do you know when to add color to your drawings?
Oh God. Sorry, that was just like me. Like, oh God, I have to answer a question that's, I don't know. Gosh, I think that there's something really like seductive about just full graphite drawings. Something like really velvety about that material, and charcoal too. So some really beautiful charcoal works at Sweet Lorraine actually a couple months ago. Um, that I just like, you never want to like add color just because, just to add color. And I think that's why I work so monochromatically,
Mm-hmm.
trying to use like sort of pinks and blues in a way that is like, if it's going to be pink, everything's going to be a shade of pink. If it's going to be blue, everything's going to be a shade of blue, because it really tones work in a different way and makes it seem like otherworldly. Um, so maybe I'm not the person to ask about when to knowing when to use color. When you want to, Brenda. Whenever you guys want to.
Thank you, Tara. Oh, that's a long. Okay. What would you say to artists looking for a publisher in these hard times?
I have no idea. You tell me, gang.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I have no idea. I think that whenever I've like been like looking for opportunities, um, you know, applying to shows, emailing people, shamelessly emailing people. I know it sucks, but I have no good advice, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, does that'll be the last question. Does okay, I don't synesthesia?
Oh, aesthetics? Oh, synesthesia. Um, well, it's so funny. I was actually just talking about this to someone. Um, in like a not an overt way, um, but like colors definitely have like a, you know, like a feeling in your body that that's definitely something I'm trying to like tap into. Um, like sour feelings, like certain colors feel sour. I use the word acidic a lot. Like I don't know, when I think of like colors, I feel them on like the back of my throat, like I don't know, like a warhead sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was actually talking recently about how all numbers and letters in the written way have like colors and personalities and genders
Mm-hmm.
and like, relationships to each other in my mind. And so like that's just been a recent realization of like, oh, other people don't do that. Not everybody thinks that number two is yellow and has spiky hair and like is mean, but like kind of still like best friends with number one. Okay, I shouldn't talk about that. I'm getting the red flag that I should stop talking about my really cool friendship chart for all numbers and letters.
No, I think that's cool because you said that for you number two is yellow. I always thought the number two was blue, and I thought three was yellow.
Oh my gosh, no, three is blue.
Oh,
Three is blue, and he's short and kind of chubby. And
yeah,
he's like the sort of like the joke friend. And number four is a woman, and kind of like a fuchsia purple. And
yeah.
she looks over one, two, and three. And number one, if you had to put number one to anybody, number one is Tommy Pickles. This is the best artist talk I've ever given. Can we just talk about this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why didn't we talk about this before? Okay, we gotta talk about this another time because this is really good. I don't know where that timer is because I feel like it's gonna come up soon. Um,
Okay.
hold on. Is that a question?
I know, I saw a question. Oh,
He,
I love cartoon cryptid. And so my boyfriend, he talks in the color blue, and he gave me a weird look. Oh, you're normal.
yeah, that's very interesting. I always like I don't know. Last thing before Instagram cut this off because I can feel it. I can feel it. Like whenever I think about you, I immediately just think about pink. It's just,
Yeah.
and then I think Kiki's watching. Whenever I talk to Kiki, I always have like a green color in my mind, or like Rebecca. Whenever I talk to Rebecca, I feel like yellow or like bright
Oh,
sunshine, or like,
absolutely.
yeah, or Giovanna. I always feel like a purplish. I don't know why it's purple. So
Mm-hmm.
very interesting.
That's the color of our energy.
Yeah,
Amber is the color of our energy.
yeah. We got to talk about this more. I can't believe why this literally came up as we're ending it. But again, thank you everybody so much for answering or asking Tara these questions, and thank you Tara for answering them and being a part of this and showing us your world. I love it so much. It's so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions for Tara or wants to see more of her work, I'll post her Instagram handles after the video. But thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Tara. We'll talk soon for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.